welcome to this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of our TFC GE live stream. Everybody's very tired. That's why I'm the host today. no Reggie, Chief Financial Coconut. It's just me, Anthony, host on TFC with like all the investment content, social political content, right? And to me, today we have two guests, right? One, Jeremy Tan, first independent candidate, and you'll introduce yourself later. And then Eddy, founder of SailorFanTalk. So we are just here, talk sports, talk social issues, talk political issues. A light and easy Sunday lah, huh? Nobody wants to talk about too difficult topics, hopefully. But yeah, maybe Jeremy, start with you first. Why don't you introduce yourself, then Eddy?
Oh, okay. So, Jeremy, I was formerly I don't want to use the word serial entrepreneur because that implies many failures. But really, I was retired now. I was an entrepreneur for many failures. And some of that was, some businesses I had was like doing in a venue rental business that died during COVID. I was renting out space, that's the space for companies to conduct skills future courses. I thought I was very smart, and then Alpha Wave was over. I thought, let's get back in business. Then Delta and Omicron came, boo. Anyway, I have also some other businesses that I started and also failed, and the majority of my wealth came from selling a company to Unilever. It was a skincare distribution business, only because I got lucky, during COVID. People stopped buying makeup. They bought a lot of skincare products. The parent company got bought out, and distributors just got rolled up. It was really just a regular private equity deal sort of thing, lah. Yeah. So, and then ever since then, I've been trying to focus on politics. I've been collating the stats, doing the research. So if you in this election cycle, you are unable to see bad statistics, or you forgot what the PAP has done to you in the last 4 years, my website has all the statistics.
and sometimes that's the difficulty, right? You don't even know what they have done.
Yeah, I kept the receipts for everybody, for democracy.
All right, that's the way it should be. And I think that's kind of why we have you on. I'll go into that. But Eddy, how about you?
My name's Eddy. I'm a legal counsel, and I'm a huge supporter of local football. I have a website, and I run a lot of content about local football on the side, all on volunteer basis. Why do I do that? I don't know. Why am I on this show? I also don't know. Why am I on this show? I really don't know. I think it's because I like to talk a lot. Yes. And but yeah, I'm looking forward to a nice 1 hour chat with it's very rare that you get a chance to talk to an independent candidate and one who seems to be quite serious. So that's why I took up your invitation.
Yeah, and I think also one that seems to have some fresh ideas, right?
Yes.
But we'll get into that. But maybe Eddy, just to set the stage a little bit, right? This cycle, what has caught your attention, or what has been a bit surprising to you? Who has caught your attention?
Sure. So I think the one thing that I miss about elections the past, be it general or presidential, is that finally rallies are back. Right. I think that makes a huge difference. I think you can see what impact it has. The less skilled politicians are already making all sorts of gaffes. Right? I don't want to name names.
Are you sure it's gaffes?
Yeah. The less skilled ones. But then the skilled ones, for example, Pritam, right? If you look at the content of what he's saying sometimes, it makes sense. It makes sense. But at the same time, it's the way he delivers it, the confidence with which he delivers it. I think a very important, and the beard also lends a lot of gravitas. I'll tell you one thing, and you go back and take notice, right? So people told me that Pritam is such a confident speaker. He doesn't really refer to his script that much. And then I was like, yeah, he doesn't refer to his script. But when I look back at his recordings, actually he does refer to his script. It's just that you're so taken by the charisma of the person and the way he delivers it that you think that he's not referring to a script. So that's one. The other thing that I think has really taken my notice is PAP, quite refreshingly, they have one or two candidates who, I'll name one, the one in my GRC, so his name is Sean Low, I believe. So it's a fresh candidate, and I think what is very refreshing is that he repeatedly talks about how political discourse should be respectful.
Actually, on that point of respectful, I think Sean Low was the first person to shake my hand in the nomination center.
Oh.
He was the first guy who directly stood up, walked over to me, gave me a nice smile, warm shake. So yeah, those are really good candidates, as you managed to point out.
Yeah. So to me that's refreshing and surprising because So to me that's refreshing and surprising because I think over the years I've been quite annoyed by some of the speeches in Parliament and some of what I feel is the mudslinging tactics by both sides actually, both the opposition and by the PAP. So that's something that's really caught my eye, and I hope to see more of.
Yeah, hopefully, no populists, no
Illiterate, neighborhood
bad
school.
right? We want to
Yes.
talk about ideas, right? And I mean that's kind of the specialty in the sense of the Singapore government, right? That's what we hold
Yeah.
ourselves out as. We are here, we have a proper contest of ideas, win or lose, it's okay,
Yeah.
right? But this is what we want our government to be. Right, that's good. Jeremy, so actually, I think you have been through a lot of media, right? A lot of talk shows.
Yeah. But actually, this is one of the first few that I asked lah. It's just that only now we get to land this lah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I think I asked it like way before. I think before RIT, in fact, maybe or a couple of days before RIT.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just trying to really, because the moment EBRC is out, game is on already lah.
Yeah.
But it could have been. People say, hey, why the election cycle, why is it so short? Let me tell you, GRC can draw early, okay? But campaigning period, please, cap the time better. It's very tiring to do this. Yeah.
Okay, so what have you actually learned? Have you learned anything? What surprised you? Because you came with this, I mean, you're independent.
Yeah,
right?
I learned that joining PAP is easier, actually. Yeah. No,
Do you
just
have a
kidding,
choice? Were you invited for a tea party and they said,
I just drove past Miss Goh, my rival.
Yeah.
I waved to her. Then I count the auntie and uncle behind. Wow, got at least 15 of them, They got bicycle, they got water bottle, they got towel, all. And then, other places, they got toothbrush giving out. Don't even talk about the Ang Mo Kio eggs and all those, right? And here I am having to sweat and run around everywhere. What I learned is actually, I will know how to do this better the next time. So please, don't redraw Mountbatten. I will... No, because it's a real question. Let me tell you. I go around, right? And when I enter somebody's house in Mountbatten, Mountbatten is 61% condo, 10% landed. So it's a very interesting place, You go inside the condo or the landed, right? The first thing they will say, come. Tell me what you can do for me.
Wow.
Come. Please show who you are, because you don't know where their wealth come from, right? So to you it's like wow, I have some money or whatever. To them it's like many times of money you have ever had. So really is they really right? So it's really a case of what I learned is that you really have to speak to your audience, right? Because for them is one of the concerns is the house pricing like that, how can my daughter or my son continue working on this type of 12-hour days, be it doctor, lawyer, where usually their kids very well educated. Then how they buy house even without working 12 hours?
Yeah.
So that's what I learned is that, their concerns are very, very different from regular Singaporean. And then I go to some of the less privileged blocks. No lock. The door broken. It's been like that for years.
Oh.
Yeah, and then some is no lights inside, windows closed with a chain. Then you don't know what's going on. Yeah, and then I come back the next couple of days, it's still the same. So it's I would say it's a place where the wealth inequality is probably one of the highest in Singapore, because it's not like say you go to Radin Mas or there are even some SMCs no housing, no landed on. Yeah, right. So my learning is that Singapore wealth equality must be taken seriously. Yeah.
Then taking a step back, right? So I think there are a lot of issues that we all see as Singaporeans, as the younger generation, whether we have kids, whether we have family or not. But what's your one big idea, right? What if you were back in if you were in PAP, right? What is the one thing that you want to change?
Okay, so I will say that I've been public on this. My favorite. My candidate for PM would have been Ong Yi Kang, right?
Okay.
But I think he takes on a very scary portfolio in healthcare because the lack of retirement adequacy and the treatment of HDB as a nest egg, right? People don't realize the problem until they realize healthcare is the second highest spending item in our budget, which means retirement adequacy is not enough. People's CPF did not compound enough for them to afford medical, right? So now we are seeing the state take on the burden of the medical. So the stat is there. Healthcare is the second highest, 20 plus billion already. So it's only behind weapons. So we are spending 40 plus billion dollars every year, right? Buying fighter jet and buying medicine. That's it. Hardcore stuff. And with healthcare, right, you cannot financialize it in any way. You buy medicine, you buy beds. Beds are like 1 million a pop. Okay, and then premiums are like what 9 billion a year to match payouts, which is also about 9 billion a year. So healthcare costs are already showing you that in CPF inadequacy is there. People want to say no, Singapore very nice. Okay, don't look at the building, just look at the statistics. The state is bearing the cost for healthcare. My mother is stage 3 cancer, so I know the cost associated with it. There are a lot of people when they go to the hospital, right? They tell the doctor straight up, no bed never mind I go die. Got bill never mind I go die. So that's the reality of society. That you cannot, just because you have a nice MRT station, this kind of thing. It's so the one policy that I want to change is HDB need to stop being a retirement asset. We need to find inflation-proof savings and inflation-proof assets for our CPF. And what I mean is that right now even CPF 2.5-4%. Actually, over the last 20 years, the CPF has dipped below the floor rate before quite a few times, right? Retirement age, they raise. ERS, BRS, FRS, they raise.
Every year raise.
Everything they raise. So CPF is, they say, is a very iron rice bowl thing, right? But it only compounds when you have paid your housing and then you transfer your OA to your SA, right? If not, right, you have a leasehold, you don't exactly make the kind of returns like Mr. Lu Cheng Chuan can do, right?
No lah, I mean, okay, let's not talk about him, right? We differ on our views on
Yeah.
But I think that's so just to kind of build on that core idea a bit, right? It's kind of removing a little, and this is actually why we wanted you on the show. It's really an idea that is out of the box, right? Right now, everybody thinks, okay, we have OA, we go HDB grows asset, we do asset appreciation. If not, if I need to retire, my HDB is paid off, I can sell, downgrade, like 5 room to 2 room, not downgrade, right size, right? Use the correct term. and then, problem solved.
Yeah.
Right? But I think what seems to be happening is that the reality is, despite there being a boom over the last 20, 30 years, it's not enough for the lower middle to below. HDB and what the CPF has been doing for the last 20 years is not enough. And maybe that needs to be, okay, we put more into CPF, right? Because we focus a bit more on people's retirement adequacy, removing a bit of the burden from the state, which is terrible because the state already puts a lot of burden on individuals. And then, we put HDB only as housing, right? Because I think that has to be the next step. If HDB is no longer a retirement asset, right? We don't want to financialize it. Then it has to be just, it's a place to stay, right? With some sort of like belonging and statehood and all.
Correct. So, sorry, Eddie, you want to chime in?
No, please carry on. You guys are doing great.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why HDB is a terrible retirement asset is because of entropy, right? All buildings suffer entropy, 3% entropy. Going about HDBs, what is the total cost of entropy? You're talking about the cost of setting up, which is construction cost. Firstly, right, we have a 30% increase in productivity for HDB construction costs ever since moving to the prefab method. But you don't feel that in savings, Why is that so? Because of land costs, right? And when you have land costs that is determined by the state, this is financialization of housing, which means that this is an affordability approach as opposed to a needs-based approach, meaning you have family, you have elderly, something like that, right? Then you get bigger house. Financializing means agents take a cut. Banks price in a required return. And then you also have insurance for people who buy, private housing. And then subsequently, HDB land is like that. What is the HDB shop houses and kopitiams are going to be priced at? Yeah. Flows down to the cost of living, because then that will tell you how much the hawkers will be priced at. So a lot of people want to talk about cost of living. The opposition parties, some of them say 5% GST, back to 7% GST. No GST on these things. I think fundamentally it's wrong to start with a less outspend, because you're just injecting more dollars back to the system. That will be very much gone because we import all our food anyway, right? So if we go with this approach of like trying to fight of who can outspend each other, nobody can outspend a PAP. PAP best at knowing how to, give you one chicken wing, take back the whole chicken one, right? They are the best, all right? But not because it's their fault, but it's because some things are not a party's fault. It's a Singaporean issue. You need to start thinking, okay, maybe as Singapore, as a hub that receives a lot of US dollars flows as a fourth financial hub, the fourth biggest financial hub, and also with all the Chinese goods and petroleum that goes through us, maybe we have a good chance to start to rethink of how we store money, how we redo money. Cannot be, to me, why I bring up Bitcoin, is because cannot be zero. And cannot be, we only say gold or US dollar, gold or treasury. Cannot be. This is backward thinking. Why? The Bitcoin ETF surpassed the gold ETF already within 1 year. Why is that so? Is BlackRock dumb? Is the institutions dumb? Cannot be, what? Right? Yeah.
Okay, so leaving aside Bitcoin, right? I think going back to the idea of this is really okay. Singapore is an open economy, right? We accept capital flows. We are in a sense a bit of price taker, and so what we need to do, I agree with you. The GST thing is a bit silly. That the genie's out of the bottle, right? You can put GST back down, the price won't go back down. Right? People will just earn more profits.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is really to break this cycle a little bit, right? Where your private property increase, then your HDB, because private property increase, your HDB land cost increase, your BTO increase, and then everything flows from there, right?
Yeah.
Because rent and all that is based on yield of your actual value. So there needs to be a way, in a sense, to break the cycle a little bit, to kind of move a bit, maybe to your point, move a bit towards HDB being needs-based and more balloting and all of that, rather than everybody having to have that. Okay, so all that I kind of understand, right? Then you go into Bitcoin, and look, I get it, right? I think the reality is we have some financial wealth. Whether that is held by Temasek GIC, whether that's the structure of the economy, whatever, we have some financial wealth, right? And we need to find a way to store our wealth, right? And in essence, the Temasek GIC has done a decent job by buying up stakes, right? So we financialize our CPF by saying everybody gets 2.5, everybody gets 4. We have asset managers at the back that run. Hopefully they earn more, and then they take a scheme off the top, or they pay their employees, whatever. Right? So that's the model. But if that's the case, sure, Bitcoin is one of the assets that they can invest in. Yeah. Right? It's not really a national reserve or strategic reserve in that sense. It's just exposure to an asset class, so that if things stop developing, our CPF can still get paid.
Yeah,
or do you have a slightly different view of where CPF?
Yeah, but where CPF is paid out from, right, is really just, trust me, bro. Because you're paying out in Sing dollars, right? Yeah. You're not paying out in gold shares or gold certificate, right? Singapore is a proxy for American dollar strength, right? So we are a proxy of that, but we are backed by $500 billion worth of gold plus foreign reserves, right? And also because people see our trade flows, the strength of our bills, our bonds, our AAA rating. So we pay on trust, which is essentially all currency is based on trust, right? Yeah. So the question is, we know we are reliable and we are trustworthy, but is our underlying promise trustworthy? Is there something that in our underlying promise to pay out CPF returns, is there something volatile in it? And you can observe very well that 80% of all US dollars that ever existed were printed in the last 5 years. That tells you something very wrong already, because the devaluation process is taking its course through the international system. It's just that now we start to feel it, right? 44% increase in housing in the last 5 years. Why is that so? Because people want to put money in safe havens. They buy up the private property here, the freeholds and the 99, and then the sandwich class earn enough to buy slightly more than EC, but not enough to buy 99 and freehold, or maybe they can only afford a small mid-size 99. They go and pump into $1 million HDB flat Then it trickles down. Now price expectations, agents. We had the highest record number of agents registered, housing agents registered in 2024. This is a rent-seeking economy symptom. This is not a productive economy symptom, right? So when you have this, what happens? Now everybody want to jack up 2.5, 1.5. Now you're creating videos. You're creating an entire class of creators and economy around profiting off land. Yeah. Cannot in Singapore. That should not be the case. Yeah.
And even if you want to say that's the case, that should not be the case for essentially government housing,
Yep. Yes.
right?
Yes. Something where you control the price and you control the supply, right? That's why I had to go to politics, because the question is, are you voting for a cradle to the grave system in which the government says, here's how much to exist, here's how much to use your CPF to pay for the house? Or are you going to vote for, let me have more autonomy in what happens to my CPF, right? Essentially, this is what politics is about for me in this year.
Okay.
Right, because the systems were created that you have guaranteed 30-year incomes, you would die at 60, 70 years old. So if that is the case, then are those assumptions still holding true? And I'm afraid it's no longer true, right? 30-year incomes are not a thing anymore, right? Everybody has a side hustle these days, right? And they're 60 years old. I mean, I see some 60 years old when I'm visiting and they look like young as shit, man. Yeah.
The 60 years is the beginning, 55 is the beginning of a second prime.
Correct,
Right?
correct,
60
correct.
years is you're getting into a second prime.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just laughing because both Eddie and I have side hustles.
Yeah.
Except my side hustle is not being paid for.
Yours what?
Yeah.
What, sports betting?
No. I just write articles for fun. I wanted to ask if I could just jump in, right? So you said that you're voting for whether you want a cradle to a grave system or whether you want something with a bit more autonomy. Do you think this is something that Singaporeans are ready for? I mean, Anthony and I have had conversations before. We talked about how actually the education system sometimes imposes on us this very, prepares us rather for a very paternalistic government.
Correct.
Where, I'm not very sure what to do, let me just follow. Like, so it starts from primary school. Not very sure where to go to the best secondary school that I can qualify for. Right? It's not so much about whether this school does well in Wushu or whatever. It's just, my grades are what? I go to where. And then after that, similarly for junior college, similarly then for uni as well or poly, you usually people who don't know what to do, they just go the conventional
Like if you're good at studying, there's a very easy path for you to follow.
Correct. It's a conventional route.
Yeah.
If you're super good at studying, get a government scholarship.
Correct.
Go overseas.
So that path is set for life.
Correct.
Then you
The
enter
path is
politics.
set for life. So would you say that actually what you're suggesting, right, Singaporeans are ready for it?
So let's talk about the first statistic that shows that the path is failing, right? Which is we have the highest number of PMET retrenchments ever since the stat was recorded in 1988. Okay, that tells you that the system, that the path to get these supposedly white-collar jobs is broken, right? And 91% of all job growth in the last 4 years were to foreigners, by the way. This is a MOM stat. And we can't even tell for the 8.3% of job growth, was it for PRs that became Singaporeans? Okay, because, the numbers are jumbled.
Like they say Singaporeans and PRs, but they didn't say when they became
changed. Correct. Yeah. So you're right there.
And later people start scolding you in Cantonese.
Yeah. I know which guy goes going in Cantonese. Yeah, so you can respond in Japanese. But anyway, so with that in mind, we have to, the policy that I advocate on my website is we need to teach entrepreneurship, sales and financial literacy at a younger age.
And AI, right?
And AI, yeah, because China is already doing it, and even in Norway and Denmark, they're also exploring ways to be more holistic assessment. But why is that so? It's because when you go and teach kids to be resourceful, they'll go and automatically develop skills and itch. What you just said was correct. They think that, I do this thing, I do that thing, do this thing. It's like, like completing your steps challenge like that. I walk
Lego,
how many?
Lego,
Lego, right? But that's not how life works. And like what you said, I have a resident come out and tell me, and his son has disabilities. He say Singapore is just a place. If the prescribed path, you're not inside. You have to go and find out who you want to be, and it feels very disenfranchising, right? And the funny thing is that, look, the path going about on my walkabout, I realized that Singaporeans have no idea why they are poor. I mean, the rich people know why they're rich, right? But the poor people don't know why these things are so. They go and they say, I wrote to the MP, he said cannot be done. I don't know why it's like that. And then today I just received a comment that was passed to me. This lady who stays in Siglap, born in $7 million home, around 50 years old now, high tea every day. Right? He said, why need opposition? Election is so lame. If not happy, just fly to Australia lah. and then I'm like, sis, this guy stay block 93. Want to move across to block 58. Also cannot afford, no. From the, from the old flat go to a
New flat.
not even that new flat also cannot afford, no. So then there's this type of sentiment, in my area and you feel the pathway, Singapore is not for you. Let's just say that in the area of politics, I think it's high time we say, look, let the market sort itself out, right? I'm actually very enthused and very encouraged by how TikTok sellers are. Wow, they're very resourceful. They're starting to do everything. All Singaporean, all groundswell movement. So let them be more resourceful at the start. If you're good at cooking, go and learn cooking or whatever. Lor.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where. We actually have a special person who came down to stage just to see you today.
Director.
Hiding behind the camera, producing today.
Director.
Yeah, so I mean, and I think that's kind of where we were coming from, right? Like we were talking about this before the show started. We have all gone through a Singapore education system.
Yes.
Right. Eddy and I, at least, we have done quite well from the Singapore education system.
Yeah.
But then the PAP or the government, it's not political, it's the government. The government doesn't trust that you can still do what's right for you.
Correct.
For us, right for yourself, right? And that's kind of a symptom of, hey, it's a system, or the system that we had then currently working, right? And maybe it is, maybe it isn't, whatever. And I mean, to your point, right? And I was reading about this because I have 2 young kids and I'm very interested in their own development. MOE has this brilliant thing called the 21st Century Competency Framework. Yeah. And if you read it, it is amazing. I agree with every single thing in it, right? It's like, you need, and actually a lot of it overlaps with yours, right? You need to be self-sufficient, you need to be self-directed, you need to be resourceful, because these are all things that we want for our kids. Or if I don't have it, so never mind, I want my kids to have. But then at the end of the day, how does this translate into the system? How does this translate into how our kids are taught, our curriculum? It's not really a class size thing, right? It's about the whole the system as a whole. That maybe needs a bit of a rethink and a bit of we don't want to just tweak here at the edges, tweak there at the edges. We need to have a bit of a fundamental think about what we want to develop, and then we build from that principle, right? So I kind of feel like that's the big picture thing, which is why I like fresh ideas, right? I like fresh ideas that we want to give a bit of a platform for. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm a bit skeptical even. Right? So I mean, Jeremy, if I had to talk about your website, obviously there are a lot of policies there. Some I agree with, some I don't. But
sure.
So this one, when you talk about financial literacy, you want to give them some skills. You want them to. I also like the part where you say arts and sports also. Maybe something inside. But can I just play devil's advocate here? If you introduce that into Singapore, let's say you do it like next year, you get into parliament, you argue for it, and it's passed. Don't you think that it's ingrained in the Singaporean culture for parents to then actually have drill camps, right, on financial literacy? Then, like, I'm not even kidding. So suddenly you
start a period of financial coconut
really,
also.
I become a skills future seller.
Suddenly, financial coconut will become the most listened to podcast because people need this to pass their PSLE. Is that a problem, you think?
That is a problem. Staying in Marine Parade, right, very near to Mountbatten. There are entire shopping centres where the economy is tuition. Okay. It's like Parkway Centre, right, has, I think, don't know what's 20 floors of tuition.
But then the food reflects also because of the parents too.
Correct. So the entire weekend economy of Joo Chiat Road, right, the cafes, everything, right, is parents sent swimming, parents sent to wushu, parents sent to tuition. And then it's becoming crazy also because they are learning things like young Pilates, this kind of like funny things, right? And
it's because you're in an urbanized, like,
yeah. And I grew up like in a way like more like really dirt poor area, like in Tiong Bahru Outram, okay. So like coming here, I'm like, what is this going? And then it's quite funny also because like maybe the kids' face is very beautiful, like Joseph Schooling like that, right? But then when they open their mouth, it's like, hey, mommy, later go away, like that, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's always the mixed parents, right? So to that, it's really the new PRs that became citizens that are doing this, meaning they got tortured before, both sides got tortured before, and they're doing this. Unfortunately, this is the second thing, other than the HDB stuff that I looked at, this is the second thing that needs to be looked at, which is the incentives of people to be gained graduating from the education system. And that's why one of the policies I advocated was you double grade nominal and curve GPA. and then you find out ways to assess a person without the curved GPA. And the reason is because, right, when you're competing within NTU, NUS, SMU, right, people who've been to overseas unis know when they go on exchange, they easily wipe the floor of the exam papers. You're very easy. But then these guys are coming to compete for jobs with you. Like, oh, I have high distinction there. But then my 3-point-something GPA is like, dude, the competition is way higher. Right? It's like how all these Chinese students come over, right? They're just like, because of the Gaokao, right? They are just beasts.
Yes.
Yeah, they come and do the same to us, you know what I mean? So I think that you have to just remove the incentives completely. And that's also why I put that all the schools, all the public service scholarships that eventually become government leaders, right? You must have 2 years of service in private sector. You set the tone at the public sector, the private sector will follow. So why? Because every time somebody says, hey, scholarship good, anything you fall back can go government. But you make them spend 2 years in the private sector, then you start to see, okay, can. Now we start to see, okay, the system will be a bit more different. Maybe they go to take the PSC, then they go out do the other thing. But if we don't do this type of adjustments to our incentives, forget it lah. Yeah, and also because right now with PMET jobs being a problem area, also with the tech layoffs or the Amazon, that the parents are making the kids go to crazy tuition because they think like, oh, no matter what, I must squeeze you. I don't think this time. I think it's a mindset change. Some policy can adjust a bit, but it'll take a while. And to the last point, I had friends who come and tell me, I love your policies, but I want to keep volunteering-based admissions, and I want to keep affiliations. I'm like, why? Elitism has worked for us. Why shouldn't it continue working for us?
I mean, people are inherently selfish.
Yeah.
I need to protect myself. Also.
Yeah, I think it's a balance lah, and I think this is the thing that the PAP does. I have to say, started looking into it, but can do better lah. Some policies are not like change overnight. I think they have to be just keep refining. I like subject-based bending, but a lot of people don't like it. So like,
it's okay. I mean, if you can change the constitution overnight, you can change a lot of things overnight.
Very painful.
Right? No. At the end of the day, I think that's it, right? It's very, and the PAP will be fully in your court to say parents' mindset need to change. But at the end of the day, I mean, my kids are young so I just think about primary school, right? PSLE is a way that we, the government has chosen to allocate scarce resources, right? Their secondary schools geared towards different things. The PSLE is how we allocate students towards those schools. And that is one metric. And then, of course, we try for DSA. And as we know, DSA has just been bested by all the people with money sending for courses, right? Like I was trying to send my 5-year-old kid, of course she said, I want to go and learn drawing. Then okay I find drawing. Every single school that is shortlisted, that we kind of looked at, say, oh, we help you do a DSA portfolio. I'm like, okay. It started off with the idea that we have broader paths. We want to cultivate
exactly
talent.
What I said just now, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things I forget, because of this few days I run until I check already. I forgot I wrote that to invest $10,000 in every baby Bitcoin fund account. Okay, and I tell you why. Okay, and you lock it until 21 years old. Okay, because right now this year, the incentives given out will be worth about 16,000 for a new baby, right? Okay. Instead of giving them things that they spend immediately over the next 2 years, why don't you help them compound, right? And lock it until 21 years old. And then you don't need to worry of all these things, because every year they see, hey, there's a account that's growing for me. Okay. I might have some leeway at like 16 years old, 18 years old to explore 1 or 2 years. Then I don't need to worry about all this. I must join this school. I must take the,
Yeah, you don't need to be like, or even if you go for whether, and it's at different junctures, right? Whether you finish NS if you're a guy and think about going for uni, or do I want to take a gap year?
Correct.
Or whether after uni, do I really want to chiong and like start my career? Correct. Or do I want to go and explore? Do work at a startup, do something else. And I think all of this kind of falls back into an idea of, is there a safety net so that people can go and explore? Right? People can go and pursue their passions. And I mean, you can pursue your passion at any time, right? Of course. But when you are young and when you have the energy and when you have no commitments, that's the best time. You have 2 kids, you say,
Yeah.
oh, go pursue your passion. Then my kids how?
Yeah lah.
Right? Like they are very, very different perspectives.
Yeah,
Right? So maybe part of the idea is a Bitcoin fund. I mean, I'll disagree with you about that.
Sure,
Put
sure,
in SGX lah. At the very least, you help boost my stocks. Okay.
No, yeah, but no, you see, right?
No,
that's
but
the
I
thing.
get your point.
So the thing is that even I said, right, put in a baby coin fund, right?
Yeah.
And how do you do that? You buy an SGD denominated Bitcoin ETF. And then I also specifically said you list the ETF inside the STI. So it will bump you up, right? And I think that's good to revive our STI, right? So the compounding effect is actually worse for kids that are leaseholders. In other words, the parents only have HDB flats that are, by the time they are kids, the HDB flats are obviously around 10, 15 years when they, the kids go and study. And then if you really take into extrapolation, the flat is about 70 years when the kid actually works. Don't waste that 70 years. Help them compound. Don't just compound in cash, because cash is trash, as they say, right? You and then 80% of Singaporeans have a income tax, effective income tax of less than 4%. That calculates to about 6K income for 6+K income for Singaporeans. So if 80% of Singaporeans are like that, and then they raise the contribution rate, and then they raise the, they make you pay so much O into your HDB, you will never have the freedom of thought, right? And that's why like my entire campaign was about being retired, not tired. And it's really about having the freedom of thought, the freedom to go and pursue your passion and discover who you are. No?
To take some risks. Right?
Yeah, I started my businesses when I was in year 2 in uni. So I was still studying and then I go and do my business because that's the least risk. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, so I mean, then just kind of building on that idea of alternative pathways to success, right? And engendering that risk-taking kind of attitude, right? Anything else you think we can do to break this cycle, to feel that it's a bit more?
Yeah, here's an example. For example, you talked about arts and sports, right? So you know that in the local art scene and sports scene, that actually nobody really makes a good living. I mean, not everyone's a JJ Lima, Stephanie San.
Correct.
And not everyone is a Fandi Ahmad also.
Correct.
There are a lot of other people who the parents would say, "Hey boy, don't go and be a pub singer lah."
Yeah.
Right? Why don't you just go and work for MAS or something? What other things, I mean, building on his point, right, what other things do you think can be done to encourage people more? I mean, I like the idea of like a bit of a safety net when you're in the prime of your years, like 20 plus, so that you can go and explore. But is there anything else that should be done?
Yeah, I think we work on the latest, most innovative voucher scheme that I saw this year come on the budget, which is the Culture Pass.
Yes.
I feel like the Culture Pass being able to use for not just museums or all that, okay? But you can use on comedians, you can use on live bands. Obviously, cannot be like, one Long Island tea, come, okay?
Or Siam Teo lah.
Yeah. It has to be
Thai cultural night.
Some foreign talent.
Yeah, well, I don't know the local pricing for your football, but for basketball, we typically pay around $25. And then comedy is around $25.
There's still local basketball games.
Yeah. They've won.
I didn't know. I thought once the Slingers were gone, that's it.
No. So there are a lot more international teams that play out here, and then the government is seriously supporting the NBA to have games here because a lot of the kids, nice, right, because of TikTok culture, they have gravitated a bit more towards basketball because of the influence of stars and whatnot, right? Because soccer tends to be very European focused, so so they don't really control American media as much as basketball does. And then Culture Pass using for things like that, for things like those like meet and greet, all that thing, inspire some people. I think it's much better It can be stretched right? Yeah, and then sooner or later CDC also can stretch. I can pay for drinks, all that. No, that's
It's okay I mean, all these government vouchers I used to buy ice cream.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I used to buy cream because a bit expensive.
Privilege.
This is privilege. This is my privilege.
It's better than the uncles using on the neighborhood massage parlors.
That is true.
Do you guys think that CDC will ever go down in value or be eliminated?
No lah. I think this is a way. Look, if vouchers ever stopped existing, right, it's terrible because it just means that our system of redistribution has failed, right? The way that we do things, or the current government is doing things, is that we increased costs, right? GST, all that. That's
across
all.
the board, yes.
Yeah, that's all increasing in revenue, right? So I, as a government, as a central pool of money, I get more money, and then I put it back into the system, whether that's to help the underprivileged, because this asshole buying ice cream, expensive ice cream, whatever, who cares about him, right?
You better buy the most expensive ice cream to return in GST.
Yes.
Auntie Birds of Paradise, I buy for you.
Yeah. So it's this. So the whole system of vouchers and all that are really meant to facilitate this redistribution, right? They don't want to write a law to say I will always give you back if you make below a certain amount, right? It's all looks a bit discretionary. I must announce every budget. I must announce I give you money, but the way that things have evolved in practice, if one day they say I cannot give you back anymore, wow, then where's the money going? That means that we have really run out of money,
Yeah.
So because the premise
or
is
that the idea of GST is failing also, because GST is
Yeah.
always redistributive, right?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
right? You need to redistribute it and not just be purely regressive, right? This whole thing comes as a package. So if one part of the package fails, you really need to watch out what's going on in the other parts of government, right? So I think that's going to be a tricky one. But actually, I wanted to come back to you on, I think we've talked a bit about PMETs and retrenchment and all that. And I don't know, right? I mean, my sense of it as somebody who works around this area in Raffles Place is that life is tough. I mean, we all earn good amounts of money, but life is getting a bit tighter. It's getting a bit stricter. You have to watch your budget a little bit. It's I look at my parents and I go, you could buy a condo last time with this salary, right?
One hour of work and 2 strawberries.
Then now it's like I earn way above median. I still cannot, right? Or it's so much more difficult, right? And the system is harder lah, right? You get retrenched at 40 plus. That happened 20 years ago. Don't get me wrong. That always used to happen, right? But now the retrenchments are getting more. You can't find your path back, and because we are now global, right? So we are really buffeted by global headwinds, and you end up driving Grab, right? And the government has this whole big idea of we retrain you, we reskill you.
Yes.
Skills Future, I give you now the Skills Future job seeker scheme, right? Which gives you some money to find jobs, to apply for jobs.
Dude, that was sure kena abuse. 100%.
Then you have all these other skill future plans that I pay you up to 3,000 a month. You go to do a proper reskilling. You go to do another diploma, something. But you're 40 plus year old. I mean, as an employer, I see this guy come out with a diploma 48, or another person come out with fresh from poly at 23, 24. I want a younger one. Right? I can push them harder, I can abuse them more, even if they ask for the same pay. Right? Which would be very difficult for 40 plus year olds to
I can
survive.
abuse them more. It's a very disturbing sentence.
It's okay. I'm a terrible boss. I'm a very demanding boss. Right? I admit it. So what do you think about PMEDs, right? Especially as they get older and they become more at risk of getting.
Okay, so I was always I was doing businesses here and there but my background is as one of a computer engineer. The kids these days are doing computer software jobs are crazy. They are really cracked. They have to do 7 internships, lead code, do a whole bunch of prep just so they can land the opening interview. And then what do these companies do? Crypto companies are I don't want to say which exchanges or whatnot, but they just do this exercise of asking you to interview. Then maybe because they attempted to try to interview you and falls within the MOM quota, they get the points within the campus framework to hire overseas people because they tried to hire local already.
You put up the ad for
7 times, 8 times, yeah. And then they show they recorded with interview. So they make people. But if you're really very good, then you pass through right? And that kind of practice is very rampant now. A lot of these Chinese tech firms that are here, also nearby one, you walk across, you can see. So they do this practice, and we should think if why do we let this happen? And if they are really heads and shoulders above in skill, right, I can accept. But it's starting to look like it's more of culture. They're trying to preserve the same culture, and they're trying to preserve the same
identity of what a rank and file is. So that when you go to the firm, there's no more, hey, you want to talk? No, I've been here a long time. When you hire from your same culture, everybody falls in line automatically, right? And that's not what I want for Singapore, because it's increasingly looking like a lot of the firms are like that. They try to do this thing, and then Singaporeans end up taking the more marketing, PR roles that are more like, more selling and all that, and then we're not really doing the heavy product lifting and all those things like that, right? That's not what we want, because
we want some technical skills.
Correct.
And we can't just rely on our overseas grad going to work in big tech in the US and come back. Right? We need to grow our own ecosystem here.
Yeah. And most of the time, these overseas people that made it in the first wave, meaning if you're working in like Meta and all those before COVID, right? They come back, hello, their share options worth more than entrepreneurship, I tell you. It's nuts, man. It's like, I see my friend, I will get a slog for what? Yours making so much. Yeah, those are crazy days, but it's not going to happen now for the future. And actually, I looked at all the different political parties and their proposals, like giving out money here, $200, no questions asked, right?
Yeah.
I tell you, I hate hearing this, but I unfortunately have to say, we might be converging towards that, unless we go and bring in robots way faster. We really have to hope we can invest in humanoid robots. The industry of it, be it the cleaning of it, the recycling of it, the waste management of it. How do we be the best transshipment hub for robotics, humanoid robotics? How do we have port workers that are now robots? How do we have construction that are now humanoid robots? We need to do a whole of government effort, EDB, MTI, go and study and then go and find out and throw money in these places, right? So that we can onshore the technology, onshore the legislation, and onshore the jobs that are coming for that. Because the truth of the matter is, I don't believe white collar jobs are. I think I give you 10 years, maybe 10 to 15 years, but I think by 2040, right, white collar jobs is probably like only in very high responsibility situations, like signing off on the country's budget, something like that,
And this, of course, is linked to your point about reducing the population size.
Yes.
By 2040, I think.
Correct.
To 4 million.
Total will be 5, but 4 million citizens lah.
I see.
Yeah, because I looked at the number of people in the domestic work, in construction work, in port work, and then also the labor force that does the S-Pass when they go serve restaurants, right?
Yeah.
If we extrapolate the $80 trillion labor market and we just take our numbers and kind of pair with it, we will lose approximately 500,000 jobs, maybe 500 to 800,000 jobs in Singapore. It's going to be a real thing, right? And you talk about job seeker support scheme. It's really unemployment benefits, right? Because I saw that if you go for any number of interviews in a month, it's uncapped, then you can still take the 600 per month. I tell you what will happen. Okay, I know a lot of residents in Mountbatten. The auntie sit at home. 你的公司来啦, your company come and interview me lah. Then I go already. Every month I can take. So it's one more redistribution of CDC again. But this time, it will be exactly like the PIC at Skills Future. Surely got abuse one. 100% will abuse.
Okay, at least this time it's only up to 6 months, right? So the abuse is limited. Even if there's abuse there is a limited fiscal requirement on the government.
Correct.
Right? But I think that's kind of an interesting view of the way work will be done, right? That a lot of, I'll be unemployed, but that's okay. I'll be retired, so that's fine. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And then white collar jobs, as we know it, will either be offshore or will be higher level. And I think partially, even if I don't get fully on board with that, I think that's where the world is going, right? Especially with the advent of AI and all that. Your fresh grad jobs are going to be difficult to get, because you will need. Because fresh grads, I didn't think of this as a fresh grad because I have Vigo, but now I do recognize it a bit useless. Need to be trained, need to grow, and you invest in potential, right? And I think that to me is one aspect of our labor policies that we need to change. Maybe we need to start thinking about being a bit more protectionist. Right? I know it's a dirty word for open trade. It's a dirty word for us as a society. We just don't like it. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure that whatever our education system churns out, it churned out a lot of people who are hardworking and relatively intelligent. They need to be able to, if they don't want to pursue their passions, they need to be able to survive, right? We still need jobs. We are not yet in a post-jobs society.
Yeah.
And that just means that even if we open the tap for foreign talent, we open it for people who are actually talent, right? We don't want this fresh grad who did some degree somewhere else, who's completely foreigner, but because it's an MNC 1 day experience, come in. When a fresh grad, or maybe even a person who has worked 3 or 4 years in Singapore, could have done the job,
Okay.
right? I see a lot of it around me, or even my wife's ex-colleagues, where it's like, did we really need to hire this French guy?
Yeah.
So, but how do you, so Jeremy, maybe you can weigh in, right? How do you suppose you can bring that vision to life and like be a bit more protectionistic, or is that not aligned with your views?
Yeah, so the one thing that I have is the one that I wrote out is a train to replace program.
Okay.
So you say this guy is so special in your company, right? List out the skills, and then we incentivize you, we pay you for a certain part of training, and also a fee at the end when you replace the person with a Singaporean, right? I think that is the best way, because you say that this guy is so special, show me why he's so special, and then we let people apply for this job, and then when one gets successful, we replace him, you get a fee. Because we want you to have, we also don't want you as business owner to lugi, right? We want you to be successful, so make more money, pay more tax, right? Then the second one I did was talk about you get 1 EP for every $100,000 salaried Singaporean in your framework. Why you do that? Because then either you go and bump up the people already working in your firm, or you go and hire Singaporeans 100K, right? Then you can do your 1 EP, right? So then the French guy really becomes necessary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like you force the company to really think about a
Count
cost
it,
benefit.
right? Just count it, right?
Rather than just say, oh, I just need to put this ad up for this amount of time,
Exactly.
go through this amount. Make that be an actual financial cost.
Yeah.
To bringing these people in.
Yeah.
What do you think are the drawbacks of such a scheme, though? If let's say you came in and you were to implement it within the next 5 years.
Obviously, I think one of the drawbacks would be whether or not firms will keep them very long or just keep them in a, without promoting them.
Yeah.
We obviously want them to treat them as like people who are like, you see as potentially upward mobile, skillful, and that would be very helpful. But that was one of the drawbacks, lah. We don't want just to be tokenistic, lah.
No, but in a sense, I think already in a lot of places, Singaporeans are tokenistic.
Yeah.
Right? To put very, very bluntly, there are so many MNCs here, and they will all tell you 60%, 70% Singaporean. Local workforce. I am invested in the local economy.
But the salary add up only is a few.
No, and then you look at their senior leadership.
Yeah.
One local? Maybe, if at all.
Correct.
Right? And then it's like,
Wait, you talking about DBS or what?
no. DBS, he had to become Singaporean before he could become CEO.
Yeah.
Right? That was the edict that came down.
Yeah.
So, and that's the kind of the issue, right?
Yeah.
And maybe because we are kind of getting a bit senior now, that you feel the pain, that there is, even if you are in Singapore, there's still a bit of a ceiling, especially at international companies where, okay, yeah, sure, you have been here all your life, I've cycled you through regionally, and you have done everything that's correct, but you know what, my top management is just reserved for certain type of people. So
yeah, even in the hotel industry, which is a common thing in Southeast Asia for people who love White Lotus or whatever. The hotel industry is notoriously the glass ceiling.
Yeah.
And it's all like a white glass ceiling, I guess. I don't know. But it's a glass ceiling that you will only climb so far, but the people they want is always of a certain race, country, or whatnot. And then you can just go around here, Westin and all that, you just go and see what they do. Right? And how do we break past that, right? I really think that we can be international, but really just as Singaporeans, the best we do is policy to support better upward mobility of Singaporeans within the firms. And then I know it's hard to do this for every firm, right? But you just make an example out of a few big firms. and then everybody will follow suit. And if they know they can make money by training more Singaporeans, right, and they can still preserve their bottom line, I think we can. Yeah.
Because and this is something that I always don't get, right? We always place a lot of, and the media especially always places a lot of emphasis on Singaporeans who have succeeded overseas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, this Singaporean has risen through the ranks somewhere else. It's great, but how many Singaporeans have we seen that have risen up through foreign companies in Singapore?
Yeah.
Right.
Like Shou Zi and Richard Ting.
I mean, they all went overseas
Yeah,
and then make one trip back, right? So, why is there no success story, right? That we are really kind of piloting, that people who have done well through the system, sure, you are CEO of DBS, you are CEO of OCBC, that's quite different, right? Because you are a local company, but you are the CEO of, or you are the GM of, Microsoft APAC, right? Is that guy Singaporean? Could he be? I think that's kind of question.
So actually, it comes back to the same thing that people have been debating a long time. Are the policies for Singapore for 1,000 years or Singaporeans for 1,000 years? Because ultimately, if you believe that the PR is the best pool, which is the Philip Yeo EDB school of thought, the PR is the best pool to bring in the scholars, kidnap them at 15 years old, that kind of thing. right. If you believe that's the way, right, then it's Singapore for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Right? And you must balance. Obviously, they have to keep balancing. It's a human effort. No amount of tech can do this. Right? But if you talk about Singaporeans for 1,000 years, then you must accept the trade-offs that maybe we are going to lose some competitiveness and to what you say, protectionism, right? Yeah. And that's how much to balance economic and culture. We don't want to be eroded to the point whereby like the economics of our planning erodes our culture. Actually, that's why I brought up Bitcoin, honestly, because I want people to save in a thing with no counterparty risk, right? So that Singaporeans can still continue to be Singaporeans. We don't have to lose our sovereignty in our policy because we have to bring in more foreign countries, foreign companies, more foreign here and there. And if there's a savings technology that enables us to be less reliant on counterparty risk, I think it's worth looking at. Yeah.
And maybe, GDP should not be the yardstick by which we measure our own success.
Yeah lah. Because GDP is actually just I built a new memorial, founders memorial, also GDP, right? What does it? What's the income flows for the future? We're also not very sure, right?
Very prime real estate just there.
Yeah, it's like, of course, every real prime estate is like, it's in some ways artificial also because the land was sold in a way, then it can project that this is how much GDP we will have, right? Yeah, but it could be a case whereby, don't forget, Flyer needed some helping, and then now Resorts World in Sentosa also need some helping. So mega projects have really concrete reason.
Yeah, and we have not done well at them.
Yeah.
I mean, we have had some success, but not too much, right? But maybe just from GDP as well, I don't know, Eddie, as a football fan and as somebody who's a lot more into sports than I am, right? Is there anything that we could say, you know what, let's maybe we are rich enough. Let's take a step back. Let's do something a bit different, right? And what would we focus on?
I mean, it's very tough. I go back always to the parents thing, and I think you're a parent, you will understand. I hear this all the time. My parents don't want me to do law. I say I want to open business. They say no, go and do law, it's safer and all that. I mean, recently I think why that view might come to mind is because I think maybe your viewers might be familiar with the story of a Singaporean girl/woman, Danielle Tan. So she pursued her dream. She went to play football overseas, even Borussia Dortmund, and now she's playing football professionally in Australia. But I do wonder, and I mean, huge props to her for taking the path less traveled, but I do wonder whether she would have been able to do that if her parents were not quite well to do. And that's why I go back to Jeremy's idea of, if there was a bit of not a nest egg, but there was a bit of a safety net I can activate at the point that I'm 21 years old. Maybe that would have encouraged a lot more people to go, okay, I like the violin, right? I just go. I go to Austria and I perform on the streets and all that. If it really doesn't work out, it's okay. I come back to the straight and narrow and I do a very normal job.
Yeah.
So
with more life experience behind you.
With
right?
more life experience
with a
behind
great
you.
story to tell.
it would be a great story
You
to
go
tell.
for any of the MBB interviews and say, I was a busker and I survived for 2
Exactly.
years.
I was in the streets
They
of
will love you.
Austria where all the best violinists
Yeah.
are, and I survived for 2 years. I couldn't make it in the business. I couldn't get in the professional setup, but I tried.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else? I mean,
Maybe what
yeah.
you could do, right, from taking on a sports standpoint, right, is that you could do sports scholarships that pay purely on the allowance of eating and drinking and just living, right?
Yeah.
And so that people can exist, right? And those scholarships, right, come in between the age of 11 to 16, perhaps.
So I think in football they're already trying that with the Unleash the Raw initiative. They're sending some very talented girls and boys to Spain, to USA to do that. But yeah, maybe for other sports as well. So not just football.
Yeah. Because the reason why soccer and all those is the reason why basketball is being invested more heavily by Edwin Tong, right, is because basketball is a 5-on-5 sport, right?
Yeah.
One person shining creates the opportunity for endorsements in a chance that is higher than soccer.
Yeah.
Right? Because soccer, when you bench somebody, the guy doesn't come in to play the way basketball. Basketball is like can sub second to second one, right?
Yes, correct.
Right. So basketball's appeal in the world is more solo and has a higher marketing potential, and that's why sometimes we need to look at the economics and the marketing of it. Like how do we go and throw out people out there do. So for soccer, probably the bar will be way higher,
Yeah.
Right? Like who was the Ben Davies? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's got to be way higher than that. But for basketball, right? Unfortunately, because the genetic gap between Americans and us is like wide, and then we need to wait maybe next generation. But I'm starting to play. When I play with the kids, I'm starting to. And it's very irritating. They play, wow, uncle, wow. I'm like, wow, basket.
Uncle, wow.
And then
You
they,
are already lah.
and then
Wow.
and I realized that they can dunk, they can run, they're really fast, they're big, and we just need to also think about things like nutrition, gym. How do we give them more food and nutrition so that they grow in from the 13 until they're 16, they are going to the gym instead of just, like when we were younger, our PE is like, hey, y'all go play captain ball, some
Floorball,
nonsense.
captain ball, yeah.
Yeah. Nowadays, there's mental health, there's other things, nutrition involved. So you just need to push it further to a scholarship gives you a bit more money for food. A scholarship gives you allowance for living, but that's about it, right? And then we make it a thing where each school will have a scholarship, sort of. It's like a GEP for sports, lah. That's the way I see it. Yeah.
Where do you think these funds should come from? MOE?
From the same places the opposition say we have, lah. It's there, lah. It's somewhere, lah. Yeah.
It's somewhere.
Somewhere,
No,
lah.
it's all about prioritizing.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
There's that pot of money.
Since the ministers, MP is not salary as an allowance. You're supposed to use your allowance to create programs in your constituency. So like the minister got salary. You're great lah, somewhere lah. So you'll come from somewhere lah. No, but I think that's the fundamental thing, right? Like everybody wants to do something, spend this, spend somewhere. But sure lah, let's let the best idea go out there. You already we failed with the GP because fundamentally it was just a branded autistic program, right? You're just finding the best autistic people in as kids. So
I think at this point you need to disclose something, Anthony.
Because realize both of us came from GP.
is it an accurate way to describe it?
Oh, okay. Yes. So I mean, okay. Look, I kind of agree with you. Especially if we look at all our friends, the ones who became very, very successful in very technical areas, right? Like among our batch, we had one who's a computer scientist who got invited back by the Singapore government, flown back just to give a speech.
Yeah.
Right. He would
Spectrum,
fall
Spectrum.
within your description lah.
Yeah. No, I mean because we used to think that everybody was built with the EQ of Lee Kuan Yew and the IQ of Lee Hsien Loong or something like that, right? And the GP was the best way to find out these people there. As it turns out, even most of the criticisms of GEP were the people from GEP.
Yeah.
Right? So, but I think that if we could remodel and redo it, right, we redo it sports. So it's really like how do we find you early and all that and put a sports scholarship to it. Yeah.
Okay. We are running out of time. So last question, and this came from the audience, right? So, and this relates a bit to what we seem to be thinking of as a post-scarcity world, right? Where we have plenty of money to spend everywhere. So the question is, if everyone has BTC, then who want to work? The economy is contingent on people working for money. So even if they decide to base off positions, that you kind of lose the market reaction and market demand. So I guess this goes towards your BTC point and somebody thinking that BTC will make us all too rich that nobody want to work anymore. And if that's the case, who provides the social services? Who are the nurses? Who are all the things that will be on nighttime security guards?
The post-scarcity world comes from humanoids and AI. It doesn't. The BTC is just for us to protect ourselves until we get there. We have a good 20-year window, right, to ensure that we are not hit too hard by the trade flows and the unstable world forces. We just need to make sure we get there, that we are able to pay for all these humanoid robots and in our lives and build even the infrastructure, right? Because if you have robots carrying people around or moving people around, our roads will look different. That is one form of GDP, right? Stairs may look different. Maybe we don't even need lifts in the future for certain blocks of land. And fundamentally, you talk about why you want to work people with. The whole point is so that people work for what they want to work, right? Go and really go and be good at soccer and so on. And then people want to watch you and they'll pay. And lastly, to the point, there's been a growing school of thought that humanoids and AI, right, will not transact in fiat currency in the future. They'll only transact in either stable coins or in Bitcoin. And that is a very important school of thought because it is just like, when you want to send a form in to maybe like apply for something, right? They say this is a required field. Then it's a required field, right? You cannot just go and, suka or whatever. And that's probably the case in the future with money, right? You cannot just send any form of money. You cannot send Lyra or anything to a place, to a country to buy a certain good, right? They want a more universally accepted standard. Just like how the TCP IP is for internet. I will only accept the message if it's like that well defined. That will be the case with money. So it's not about BTC is the post-scarcity. BTC is the messaging protocol for post-scarcity. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Went a very different direction of where I wanted to end up, but it's okay.
Sure. Let's go back. Everybody, there are people who work on no worries.
No. Like in the sense of, okay, I think that unpacks a whole new idea about Bitcoin that we might want to talk a bit more about, but we will do that on the next episode together with entrepreneurship. I think that's something else that we can explore a bit more.
Awesome.
All right. Any last questions? Any last views that you want to share?
I know. Well, big question to y'all is, how do you see CPF, right, as a savings account and its role as a savings account? Do you think this is still as relevant as it was as compared to the past?
Okay, so I'll take this.
Sure.
So I mean, to me, it's too big, right? Long-term retirement planning, CPF doesn't factor to me personally at all, right? Because my view is I should have more than enough that it doesn't matter.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm not making CPF a central part of my planning, and therefore I don't think about it. Then the next is, CPF in the short term. Again, we have what? OA, SA, MediSave, right? SA, 4%, sure, it can just grow. I know I can't touch it anyway. OA, I actually kind of think about it as cash, and the way that the products have evolved, you can use it to invest.
And has
right?
an investment rate,
you can
interest rate to it, right?
And you can, and then if you don't want to invest, then fine, you fall back to 2.5%, right? But you can use it to take equity market risk, bond market risk, whatever. So it's a bit like cash.
Sure.
You don't want to, you can use it to buy your house, right? I can't afford a house, so whatever I used to invest. So I think that's kind of the way I think about CRS. Like, okay, SA is something that died if push comes to shove and I really, really need it, is there, I still put $8,000 a year to reduce my tax burden. But at the end of the day, it's quite it's for 30 years down the road. I don't know who the government will be. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's somebody else. That doesn't matter.
Then I do the shielding. I cut off the shielding at like 50 or something.
It's okay. I never plan on using shielding anyway. And then OA is just for me to use now, and I treat as cash to invest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much for letting me know. Yeah.
I mean, for me, CPF, I think this is going to end on quite a dire or dark note, but I think CPF is
Come on, guys, get the message.
I think CPF is one of the many paternalistic schemes that stifles our thinking and our creativity and our ownership. So
Could have been a social safety net.
All right, you guys heard it from them. Don't.
Okay, great. I think that's all we have for today. No more audience questions, so that's good.
Yeah.
Right.
Director, anything on director?
No?
Yeah.
Nothing? Okay, great. We'll see you all then. Bye.
Well, time to vote for me.